What else is generating income in your life? What else can we do? This other part of me that ultimately ended up being capable of taking care of all that debt, moving us into the zone of being multimillionaires, giving our kids like unbelievable journeys, giving me the kind of abundance I never thought, right? 50 million times more than what some lame ass royalty could have done. And I'm not denigrating that. It's still a part of my life, but understand that failure, right, gave me everything. And it gave me, I never would have been able to tap in and realize that there was this whole other part of me that could create a business, that could run it, that can work with thousands of people. All of that came because of that failure, right? So, but in that moment, not seeing any of that stuff, all I saw were all of the years that I spent on the book, trying to get an agent, it getting rejected from all of these publishing houses, all of which is true. But I have to tell you, when I look back on that, it's like it's one of the things I am the most proud of professionally because it not only changed my life professionally, I wouldn't have met my wife. It just it changed my life in 50 million ways, but I had to move through it enough to be able to let go of that old one thing that says this is only a success if this one thing happens, right? Whereas 50 million other things, wonderful things happened, but that didn't, you know? And coming to the point where it says, okay, it's all right. Let that go, man. Like our lives are
Yeah.
actually bigger, and I promise you, this is true for most professional failures. There's really no such thing. You know, those are the things that are going to give you like that bad boss you had is going to give you this like weird muscle memory. So when you're talking with someone for 20 minutes, you're like, you know what? Privately, you're like, I'm going to end this call and all that. I'm not going to pursue this because I can already tell before this is not something that I want to be a part of. That's value. That's good for you. That's not a bad thing,
Yeah.
even though it came from a crappy place.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, like the best thing that happened in my career that I got fired
Yes.
after I gave birth to my second son, and they fired me. And at that moment, it was like total shock. It's like total shock. I did not expect it. And I had these two small babies, like 2 years old and
Wow.
3 months old. And for me, it was the best thing ever. I did not think about coming and being self-employed and having a business afterwards because I thought, okay, I'll find a position. It will be very
Hmm.
comfortable. I'll raise my kids, and that's it. I didn't have any vision that is different. That was so powerful when it happened. I could say it was the best thing that happened to me in my career for sure. That they fired me, so I'm so happy that it happened. And it reminds me that I think that Churchill said that success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm, right?
That's so true. That I you know it's you say it like so beautifully. You know, in my own life, and I just try to use that way of thinking from the point of view of almost saying if I can make what I'm doing here, if I can make the objectives beyond success and failure in this way that I'm fearing, if I can make it around different objectives that are winnable, that are achievable right now between me and you, then I'm putting myself in a position where we can discover that, where we can make that happen. You know, ultimately these job offers, these things, you know, it no matter what you do, it takes two people or a company in you or multiple people to sign off and agree on it. So it's okay that to also say like, look, I'm not ultimately in control of anything. I can't make anyone do anything. Like
Yeah,
so
right.
I can control what I do, and I can take the steps that I can take, but I can also hopefully work a little bit on like being okay in my heart and being okay in those situations where it's kind of a heartbreaker, and I have to tell you, like, this is something that I still struggle with now, like people who come close, I'm like, oh my God, this life would have been, I could have every confidence in the world that this is the right thing for you to do, but I need something in you that says, yeah, I want to do this too, or God, I'm sick, or I want something. Um,
Yeah,
but I live for that, and the thing what I found is if you give yourself a chance to find it, there's way more kindred spirits out there than we give ourselves credit for. Like, I'm an outsider, I'm a weirdo, but I found that I can do business with all sorts of weirdos, not just my type of weirdo, but there's 50 million different types of weirdos out there. And so give yourself a chance because you don't know what the sum total of building new relationships and sharing your light in this way is going to be, even more than what you're trying to accomplish professionally. I've always found massive ripple effects that happen that also give you all sorts of ballast in other ways, So it's this trust for people, I think, that ultimately is, I didn't grow up with that, I come from a very conservative household, so I didn't realize like networking, building relationships, this is all very like very, very like kind of a foreign language, to me. But once I started moving through it, I started realizing like, there's a place for my heart and there's a place for my openness and there's a place for me to have the kind of conversations that I want, instead of feeling like I have to watch my back, and certainly for someone like you, what a waste of time to have a conversation with you, Adi, and waste your time with questions that are irrelevant or to not. I mean, ideally, if I saw your amazing journey, I'd spend so much time beforehand just like nerding out on, man, I got to make the most of this time, dude, because look at this journey she's been on. Look at the weird stuff that she's seen. Like, that's what I
Right.
want, I want to be able to die and be able, or when I'm looking at the end of my life, success or failure, I just want to know that that life could have only been lived by me, and it sounds
Yeah.
like your journey, what you're creating for yourself, is also that, like even though there's
Yeah.
been these terrifying moments, this is going to be a singular pathway that you're creating, right? No one's going to be able
Right.
to really mimic that,
Yeah.
I think that helps.
I feel it in my heart when you say it. I have to tell you, because in many cases, through the journey, I had the option, like there are junctions. There are junctions, and then you stand there and say, okay, would I go in my own path, which is unknown, but it's
Mm-hmm.
mine, or
Mm-hmm.
would I just go and turn to this full-time position as an employee
Mm-hmm.
as this, or somebody wants me as this. And I
Mm-hmm.
got lots of offers through the way, but I felt that it's not for me. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it was so hard because, in these junctions, you're
Yes.
questioning yourself and you say, okay,
Yes.
this is safer. This
Yes.
might have more money. Sounds better for my career. It's a good
Yes.
title. But
Yes.
I always felt that I want to find this very specific path that I
Yes.
would wake up and say, okay, I'm so happy that I woke up today. I have this mission that I'm working on.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have how much hours a day, how many hours a day we're happy, we're content.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time we're doing our jobs and we have a few
Mm-hmm.
hours at home in the end.
Mm-hmm.
How do we build that in a sense that we're still vivid, we're
Yes.
full of life, we're full
Yes.
of passion?
Yes.
That's a
Absolutely.
question.
I think if it's been a while, the journey towards like that fulfillment, unfortunately, starts with the terror that you described, because it's almost like going underwater and breaking for air the very first time, it's very shocking and it's very scary, and you're confronting what happens, what's not, but uh, I think what you're talking about, that sort of call from the heart that says there's something else for us. I look at that as a really sacred thing, and usually what I found is life tries to like it tries to say, okay, you want that thing at the mountaintop, okay, oh, and you're climbing, okay, great, but I got a little motel for you like a third of the way in. Tell me that's good enough, right? And you're like, nope,
Yeah.
you gotta say, nope, it's not good enough for me. Yep, I know I can go there.